you'd like to contact the show, send us an email at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com or get involved in the conversation on social media. Join the Pearl Jam Podcast community group on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at liveonfourlegspod.
In the immortal words of Spinal Tap, hello, Cleveland. Oh, that's good. Long time ago, we played a place called, the first time we ever played it was the Cleveland Music Hall. It was about the size of a normal music bathroom. I think we played 7 songs that night. About 6 months later, we came back and played Peabody's. And there must have been a few more people there because we really put ourselves out and played a grand total of 12 songs that night. I think we're going to at least double that tonight. We'll keep going because there's a lot of people here and we appreciate it. And, you know, looking back, I think of our band now, if we had to go up against, like, our band back then, personally, I think we'd kick their fucking ass. And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hey everybody, now welcome to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. This week, we are moving up to the 2010s and starting that decade. It is the third decade of the 4 that we're obviously covering in the chronology series, and this kind of takes us into, the latter stages of Pearl Jam here, with Backspacer kind of being in full force at this point, and stuff that's going to come in the next couple of years really feels like the dad era of the band, so to speak, that it's been called post 2006 or so. So what we're going to get to today, if you were listening to last week's episode, I did say that we were maybe going to do Kansas City. And then I thought, you know what? Who am I to decide? Who are we to decide what the episode's going to be this week? I posed the question to the audience, the lovely audience on our Facebook community group, and guess what? They said that we should do Cleveland 2010. And that is what we're going to do today. And we'll talk a little bit about the year. And guess what? It is not as bad as 2009, so we won't be able to have those conversations that we were trying to avoid desperately last week, and honestly did a pretty good job of it, so you won't even have any of those come up. But 2010 is a pretty interesting year. There's a lot of really good shows and a lot of interesting stories that kind of come up, so it should be a good one. This is a very good set, and since you guys picked it, there is probably no way that we're going to have anything horrible to say about it. So credit to you guys. Let's dive right in. Randy Sobel over here. Javier Hervas is over there. And you are thankful that 2009 is long gone, long in the rear view now, and we can focus on stuff a little bit more pleasing to the ear.
Well, since the vote of censorship has been lifted, and now I can speak my mind because I was highly censored last week. And no, I'm just kidding. No, I mean it's part of the things, It's just everybody has different tastes. I'm not there with our previous episode, but it's kind of funny to see like when you listen to this kind of show, it seems so short, but there are so many differences, and I really enjoyed it. Sometimes when you do your research and you have to listen to shows, like you're gonna feel more connected with a few other ones than maybe others, but I really enjoy this one. I've always said that it's a really good year for Pearl Jam shows, and this does not disappoint. But before we start, I want to give a really big shout out to a very close friend of the pod, personal friend of mine, traveling buddy, Tim Fick. He just graduated this weekend. If you have known Tim, he's just a delightful human being. Tim, just best for you, man. I'm really looking forward to see all the things that you're gonna get done in the summer and whatever your path takes you. So congratulations, Tim, on graduation. I know that the majority of the group here have way past that point, but you're one of the younger ones. So now the next generation, it's up and coming, and it's going to be your responsibility to keep up with the legacy. So congrats, Tim.
Yeah, big congratulations. We love you, Tim, and we hope you're having fun out there. And we know you went to like your 20th Bruce concert this past weekend.
Indeed,
That
yes.
I was actually offered a ticket for, and then I saw the price and I said, "Oh, yeah, my family wants to go to Epic Universe. I can't afford this. This is like 2 tickets to Epic Universe." Is pretty expensive. So I decided to decline. But that actually, like, Tim went with Jason Weiss, and it feels like both of them have been just like all over all the Bruce shows. Like, if there was a show that Tim didn't go to, then Jason went to it. If there was a show that Jason didn't go to, then Tim went to it. They're all over the place. But what's really funny, that you mentioning Tim and that I can segue into Jason's, that Jason actually sent me something really funny earlier today. And he was on the flight coming back home, after seeing Bruce this weekend, and he said that the flight attendant doing all of the safety precautions and all that sounded exactly like you.
Wow. I don't know if I feel honored or embarrassed, but anyways, go on.
I listened to the clip, and like, what were you doing at 9 a.m. this morning? Probably flying out of like JFK or something like that.
Yeah, no, I was not on that flight, but yeah, I I think it's pretty funny. But well, thank you, Jason, for thinking of me and making fun of me because I was warned also. Besides being censored last weekend,
You
they were gonna
weren't
make fun of me.
censored.
They were
You
gonna
were
make fun of me in this
challenged.
episode.
A
Yeah,
challenge is
no,
not a censor. A challenge is like you rise up to the occasion. A censor is you say it and then I bleep all the words that you say.
I know, but you told me that I couldn't say that that tour fucking sucked. You told me that.
Well, because we knew you were going to say it. You already said it in the weeks prior. So it was just a challenge to, you know, bring some different thoughts to the situation. I don't know.
You
You
know,
did good.
it's true. Thank you, thank you. It's true. I just it was pretty interesting just to have like an open mind and just okay, I'm gonna sit down and listen to just with an open heart and a different perspective. So I'm not gonna say that I enjoyed it, but it was a very cool experience because it teaches you things too. As a fan, as a music lover, whatever. But this one that we have this week is pretty badass. I mean, yeah, I said it when we started the recording, but it's a very 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 interesting show. It's a good show. It's exciting. You feel like it's a very lively band, and I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that we can talk about.
I'm going to dig into this before we talk about, 2010 at all, because I feel like this is an important storyline about this show in particular. When do you think the last time they played the state of Ohio was?
Did they come back after 2010?
They have Oh, wait, yes, they did. I keep forgetting. That's funny. They went back to Ohio one time,
But
Cincinnati.
I
But,
was gonna
like,
say I don't think there's a lot of times after 2010.
I barely forgot that Cincinnati's Ohio because there was a conversation this week that I saw that I guess the Cleveland Guardians account called Cincinnati, Kentucky, because it's basically like right on the line between Kentucky and Ohio, even though it is Ohio. So I
Mhm.
totally forgot that, yeah, since they were in Cincinnati in 2014. But all right, let's turn this into a Cleveland thing then. When was the last time they were in Cleveland? It was then. Cleveland's not some flyover area. That's
Right.
a city with a lot of people, and it can definitely be a drive through when you're going to Pittsburgh, Detroit. I mean, they haven't even played Detroit since that 2014 tour, but it just feels weird that a lot of the Rust Belt has been kind of ignored
Yeah.
since this time period. And Cleveland seemed like a place that they enjoyed playing. If they have a show like this, I think the 2006 show was pretty decent from what I remember. They have shows like that, then why wouldn't they want to come back? You know? This feels
Well,
crazy.
yeah, it seems odd to me. This is a city that whatever artist that you like or you will follow, or I don't know, but you will always notice that there is a date or two in Cleveland, and yeah, it might not be worth for them for logistics. That's a big question, but there are certain areas that they have been very forgotten and ignored in the past couple of runs. And I really hope that when they come back with like a more consistent schedule and just not one out show at the end of the year or kind of like later in the fall, I really hope that those cities can be included. There's so many fans out there that have to move distances just to go see them. So,
Yeah, I think that should be like the next spot. Do a little bit of Canada and do a little bit of that, like, Michigan, Ohio, Western New York area. And I don't know, maybe try like New Hampshire for once. Go play in New Hampshire because
hmm
that's been asked for before. But yeah, Cleveland has not been played since this show in 2010. That's kind of ridiculous to say, but what's crazy is in this show, he'll talk a little bit about Cavaliers being in the playoffs. There was a May show, and we are currently sitting in May, and what's happening? The Cavaliers are back in the playoffs. So that's kind of fun. I mean, they just advanced to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So for you basketball fans out there, I'm sure that's a big deal or some kind of a deal. I don't know. Most people are probably listening to this and are Nick fans, I'm going to guess, just because of our Northeast bias, I suppose. But yeah, just something kind of cool to bring up. But let's get into 2010 a little bit. I find this to be a fascinating tour. This was the first year that I got to see multiple shows on, and it kind of primed me for what my future was going to look like when following this band. And granted, the places that I saw this band were a state that I lived and the state next to the state that I lived in the same venue. And it really wasn't like me going and branching out to all these different places. And I'm sure if this were like 5 or 10 years later, I would have gone to many of these shows, including Boston and Newark and anything kind of around the map. I might have went to Cleveland too, who knows. But I remember this tour just being really exciting and feeling really fresh. I remember a lot more Lost Dogs were put into the equation, and you can get random stuff like a black, red, yellow, a sweet Lou every night kind of deal. And it did happen. A lot of these rare songs were busted out again. And I also kind of have this year in a good place in my mind because that Madison Square Garden show is nothing short of one of their best of all time. And that could be a me thing. I feel like it's a lot of an everybody thing because it still gets talked about to this day. How many people will come up to you and be like, "Oh, slow Luke and Luke and two." Like, that's a really big deal to people still.
Hmm.
All of the rarities that they played, Hunger Strike that they did that night. I mean, it was so much, and it felt like no other concert could ever top that. It was really one of the best nights that I ever spent seeing any sort of band, and it happened in 2010. It just, blew my mind. It blew my mind in so many different ways from the beginning, and Corduroy and Away We Go. Why is that bite in the beginning of the theme song? Because of its impact. That happens
Hmm.
this year, and it's not like a big year per se when it comes to the touring, but it's a memorable one. I feel like a lot of people look back on this and like, hey, they got some stuff. They got some
Hmm.
stuff. Even in Europe, which we can talk about in a second or two. They had some stuff going on in Europe for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that thought. Sometimes you don't have to be like in the concert, but like the 2010 like MSG, even that you have a friend of a friend that they went to a show, or even that you just listen to a boot, like you're gonna notice that there's something special, that there's something very unique about that show. Certain things like you don't have to be present to recognize like the amount of energy that they have. Like I didn't have the opportunity, but I've listened to that boot multiple times, and you can clearly tell that there's something very, very special cooking. So I totally agree with that. I think that, like you were saying last week too, there are a couple shows in every run that you're like the before and after kind of thing. '09 was like the Spectrum, 2010 definitely up there, the Madison Square Garden show for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And it still goes down as one of the best of the latter era of Pearl Jam. It was a good night in 2010. I remember the day very fondly. And yeah, just I wish I could go back and relive that 1,000 times over. But it wasn't even just the US run. The US run was fun and has some really good shows and really good moments that happen in shows. It felt like the band is happy and you sense their happiness
Mhm.
when they're on stage and you sense their desire to play hard. And when you go to Europe, the first night they play in Dublin, and what happens in Dublin, Javi? You remember this.
Do I? Damn it, I can't remember.
Of the Earth.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
So there's Of the Earth, and then the other big thing that happens is in Berlin on the 10-year anniversary of Roskilde. And that is massive. It's a massive show. The crowd is in there for support. They play black, and everybody knows why they're playing black, and everybody kind of gives them the boost that they need. And Ed has a very emotional speech during it. And if it was in a different city, and I don't know why that Berlin being Berlin, it's not talked about more, but I feel like it is as time goes on, sort of kind of put to the side when the whole show in and of itself was phenomenal. It is worth your time listening to it. For sure. I mean, there's just so much going on. And even, I think there was a Peter Buck appearance at the end of the show or something like that. Somebody from REM shows up. I can't remember if it's Peter Buck or Mike Mills, but yeah, they all show up for like Kick Out the Jams or something like that. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that sounds about right. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, it's a good year. It's a good year. And it definitely deserves a little bit of attention. Yeah, some of those European shows are festivals, but I mean, there's really no bad show from the US run. I've listened to almost all of them probably, and they're all phenomenal. And this one that we're going to talk about right now from Cleveland definitely fits that bill. So let's start. I think for most of the people that were commenting on this and why they chose Cleveland over either St. Louis or Kansas City was because, well, the Wash opener will do it in every single time. People love a Wash opener, and Wash also was coming off a couple years of not being used at a Pearl Jam show, so it felt even extra rare that this happened on this night.
Oh, please let it rain today. This city's so filthy, like my mind in ways. Oh, was the time like a clean new face, smiling on the inside, inches from my face. Waltz my love, waltz my love, waltz my love.
This is kind of a nice, smooth, and jammy way of getting you into the show and kind of slow burns up to the ending. And I like that because I think it was just kind of a little bit more relaxed. Like it didn't have the over aggression that Ed used to have on the song. And maybe that's just a fact of we haven't played it in 2 years. And, you know, like ease nice and easy into this. But I thought it worked for the moment. And the way that it worked the most was the transition into the next song. But I'll hold that thought. What'd you think?
Love Me a Wash opener. It's kind of like that middle point song where you have so much to work with, because you have like the ones that they are like hardcore for the neck, and you go for the emotions like Release, Long Road, or you have the other settings where you have maybe a Go as an opener, Going Back in Time. But Wash always is going to offer like a very perfect medium of a band that is just gonna like warming up very, very slowly, but they're really gonna show you a lot of intensity at the same time. This is one of those songs where you don't need to go full speed, when you can really see like the band has some teeth and they're showing it to you, and that you're gonna go for an experience as a show. I've always been a fan of this as an opener.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've gotten it to open shows a handful of times, and every time it does, like, it's one of those you think to yourself, like, ooh, if they're going to open with this, then that kind of opens the floodgates for this to not be a typical night. You're going to get some cool stuff that happens. And you know what? You kind of do on this one. So, Wash, that transitions into Hail Hail, was absolutely perfect. And that's my biggest focus for this show, is the way that the songs feel like they're purposefully transitioning from one to the next without any hesitation, without any stop, without any having to change out an instrument. And at this time, they perfected doing that. So many songs have amazing transitions at the show, and it starts off here, and it almost feels like the first 9 or 10 songs are like they could be put on an album together because of how well they were able to make them all flow.
Absolutely. I don't know why the band decided to change this kind of setting. And what I mean with this is, before in the previous eras, they were a little bit more flexible when, like, okay, let's just select a few instruments that we're going to use for this run, and they will select, like you were saying, like really good transitions. El Corduroy got some and you have like that very smooth go to go to go to go next to song. But right now, sometimes I feel that maybe you will lose that momentum because they're so focused on, okay, yeah, we need to change this guitar, or we need to change this bass, or if we go to drop tune to regular tuning, sometimes that ruins the flow. But this is not an example of that. Like in the way that the songs flow and how fast they transition in between them, it makes it feel that it's a show that they're super, super comfortable with, and it makes the band sound so lively. Like this is a run where you can really tell that they were having fun. And even though they maybe sonically you're not going to hear a lot of differences in between 1 year apart, there are huge differences. Like how well Jeff sounds, like how the band has a little bit more punch, has more articulation. Like there's so many things that I could talk about for the next hour, but it's a really good thing that they decided to go this route instead of just like going back and forth in between things, because it makes it feel that actually the flow doesn't go anywhere.
It's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, they did such a great job around this time of knowing which ones would mesh together like that. And I mean, your point about it feeling like they were tight and they were just on top of it is absolutely it. Like they had a good feeling, and it's all based off of feel, most of what the set list is. But there have been years before where some of the set list choices, it's like, okay, structure is pretty good, but maybe this one wasn't the best idea after this song. Switch it around a little bit and see what works. But like, it's not necessary to do that in this show. It feels like they aren't trying to play games with it, and they aren't trying to throw something at the wall and see if it works. They have an idea that everything is going to work here, and that's why from song to song to song, the momentum is just at such a high point. And yeah, that all works so well, from going to Wash to Hail Hail, and then going to Corduroy and Got Some for the first section here. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. Jeff sounds fantastic on Hail Hail. He usually does. It is a very good song for Jeff, but I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week that the bass got drowned out a little bit in that show. But I mean, you're able to feel Jeff on almost this whole entire night. There's some really, really good ones. We get to the real me later, and like that, of course, is a Jeff highlight. So, but you know, Cameron has a really killer show here as well. The fill that happens kind of in that sometimes realize I can only be as good as you let me. He does one in between that.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just like everybody's fired up. And Corduroy feels gritty. It feels like Ed's vocals get a little raspy, and it feels like they're kind of up to a task with it, where it doesn't sound like an everyday, okay, we play this song so much we can kind of play it in our sleep. It felt like they were putting all the hard work and effort into making this feel like a big moment. And then got some to follow that up. We didn't really talk about this one last week, but the crowd at this time was really, really receptive to it. So the electricity is in the room, and the crowd is going pretty nuts for this. And when you hear Ed after Got Some say, "Oh, it's on," you know that he's feeling pretty good about something.
Yeah, and when we move forward to the next section, because actually this is a very important point too, because as we were talking about flow and we were talking about like how certain songs like they feel that they're more connected with the other one, you can clearly tell that there's an idea behind this, because instead of treating the sets as, okay, this song might fit with the other one, they're looking at it as sections. This following section does remind me of a question that I got a long time ago. And forgive me, I forgot to answer that question over social media. Somebody over the community was asking, like, hey, what was the first year that they started to go down tune? And here's the answer: it's 2010. That's the first year that they decided to go like half step down or experimenting new things, because as we were saying last week, Ed was trying to be a different singer around the Backspacer time. And it forced him just to sing in a different way. And that was a little bit more gruesome over him. It has a little bit more wear and tear on his voice, which is part of the gig, you know? And kudos to him for trying to be something different at a later point in his career, which it's always going to be great because you don't want that singer that's going to be comfortable all the time. But in this section, we have three songs that they worked like a glove. And again, even though that when you see the titles of those songs, you may be like, oh, I mean, this is really going to work. And actually, it does because we have In Hiding, Worldwide Suicide, and Force of Nature. And I think for me, the highlight of these three is Force of Nature because it tells you that when a song is very well executed, it's a killer freaking live version. And Force of Nature is that example on this show.
Yeah, Force of Nature sounds really good. We talked about that a little bit before going on. And one of the things that I love out of Mike that he didn't do in last week's version when we talked about it was he has this little riff at the end. And it's kind of like a little bit of like a slide riff, really like low end on the guitar. It sounds like a little. It brings a lot of character into the song. When you don't do that, it just kind of feels like normal and it feels like you're not comfortable with it, and then you add that in and it's just another element to make it spark a little bit. I love that about this version for sure. But I actually feel like my favorite highlight from these three is In Hiding, and I thought the crowd was phenomenal with it. I think that Ed brought the crowd in to kind of egg them on and be like, all right, guys, come on, you can do it. Let's hear you. Let's hear you. The band sounds so good. They sound polished. The guitars sound fantastic. And yeah, this is around the time I was really thinking to myself, like, this does not feel like how 2009 felt. We have actual movement in these guitars. It feels like you're able to kind of carry the sound, kind of travels a little bit more. And yeah, I thought that In Hiding was definitely a great example of all that. Just being able to kind of like take it to the stratosphere and have some room with it. That's what I love about it. And the choir from the crowd is just phenomenal with it too. It's always one of those songs where like you don't think the crowd is gonna like chime into it, and when they do, you're like, yes, that's my kind of crowd. I want a crowd that loves In Hiding, you know? Like, I don't want you just to sing on Alive and Even Flow, because we get it. We get it. You know, those are popular, but you sing on In Hiding, and, like, that hits you in a good spot of, like, okay, you guys have done your homework throughout the years. Well done. I appreciate you. So after this section, Ed says, I don't know if we've been properly introduced yet. In the immortal words of This Is Spinal Tap, hello, Cleveland. A long, long time ago, we played the Cleveland Music Hall. It was about the size of a music bathroom. I think we played 7 songs that night. Then 6 months later, we came and played Peabody's. And there must have been a few more people there because we really put ourselves out and played 12 songs that night. I think we'll double it tonight. Looking back, if we had to go up against our band back then, personally, I think we'd kick their fucking ass. We have experience, smarts, muscles, and we got Matt Cameron. And we got Boom Gaspar. I think Matt and Boom can take the band from back then, so maybe we'll play one from 90-something. And that means the next section is all 90 songs here. It's Immortality, and then what intrigues me here is the rare early mid-set go that's completely almost out of place, you'd think, but we'll get to that in a second. Then Even Flow follows up on that. But I think Immortality is definitely a massive highlight from this night. It solidifies how good of a Matt Cameron show this actually is. From the solo having the massive machine gun pops to the build up in the outro that keeps rising and building as they go along. It's basically a showcase meant for him to absolutely go off and explode. That was just a phenomenal moment that's happening from this show with this song that has just done so much good work to captivate fans over the years, whether it's with Jack Irons or with Matt Cameron, and we'll have to see what newbie drummer, whoever it is, does with it. But I think I've said it before that Immortality had to be like the gold standard. If you can't do Immortality, you can't join this band, kind of deal.
The biggest difference for me is how well the song articulates and it reads. And one of the things that you said before that I love, it was just like how the song travels. And that's my biggest criticism from those 2 years, like when you hear tour differences. Now you have the sustain, the transparency, like everything that this band really, really needs. And it shines. Immortality is such a good song, and you gotta do justice for it. Matt Cameron is putting a drum clinic at the back, but the band really, really shines. And it's not that they cannot execute, it's just before maybe they were a little bit more restrained and limited, but now they don't have that obstacle anymore. And I'm all for that. This is forewarning, spoiler alert, this is gonna be one of my top 3 for the for the end of the night.
Yeah, I think that's probably going without saying, especially at this point in the show. But yeah, what a phenomenal moment this was. And I mean, it's one of my favorite songs, so I'm going to kind of say that naturally. But when you have one that raises the bar. For Go to follow up on that, that's a real gutsy pick, because that's the kind of song where you use it when you need like a shot in the arm, where like you played Small Town and you played some like downer songs, and it's just like, all right, let's pick this crowd up again. And you don't need to do that here. I think the crowd is up. I think the crowd is captivated by all of this. And there were times in the 90s where Go was played around this point, and maybe it would get packaged with Animal or something like that, and it would be like a little bit of a restart of the show from the beginning, and kind of like, maybe after a daughter or something like that, like bring you back up. But like this just feels like you're just running off of all the energy and running off all the momentum. It doesn't feel like you're restarting anything. You're just going at this point. You continue to go, and it feels like a normal part of the set. Kudos to being able to figure out how to work that in, and being confident that it will work, because Go is one of those songs where you kind of need it for certain moments. And even though it's not one of the big highlights from the show, it definitely makes the show fly.
Agreed. A little detail that I really liked about this section too is definitely this is an outsider, right? Like you feel like, wow, I mean, this is really cool that Go is being included in this section. I don't know if you noticed this, but when you go from Immortality, Go, and Even Flow, if you see this, you're like, ooh, okay, Go is kind of like sandwich in between, right? But it makes so much more sense when you listen specifically in between Go and Even Flow, because then there's only one player changing his instrument. Stone, Jeff, everybody else stays the same, and that allows that kind of like flow just to keep going. I love the part when Go is over and Stone really just let the guitar goes, and you have that sustain, and you're like, oh, what's coming next? Like, it feels like there's no space, and then boom, you have Uniflow, and then you have the band completely tied up again, just attacking the audiences. I thought that it was pretty cool. It really reminded me they were experimenting with this kind of sections when they did this short run in 2013 in festivals in South America. They were trying kind of like the same setups, like release into even flow into Go, or vice
Sure.
versa.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were playing the key of D, which makes sense, but I thought that those little details, they do make a difference, because they can make or break your show, especially in the middle section. But right now, like, they're like just flowing with it, and it's a really good transition.
Yeah, and even flow, a little bit on this too. I mean, you came out of nowhere. You play off the surprise factor of Go being a part of it, but when you get into even flow, you can't stop listening to Stone on this. It's just chugging like an engine. He's just going back and forth, like just doing that doom doom down doom down 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 down, and then just kind of letting notes hang out. I really thought that was a highlight of this, because as much as like McCready can blow you away, I think that's always expected. But when you get another sound thrown in, like, there goes my ear. There's where I'm gravitating towards. And also, it felt like maybe we were going to get another drum solo here, but a nice tease. It just kind of got you enough. And that was that. So let's move forward. Great singing, Cleveland. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We all got one or had one at one point, and this one is called Army Reserve. It sounds like it's about an Army reservist, but it's more about the mom and kids hoping that dad comes back. So, Army into Unthought Known into Daughter with a WMA tag here. I would like to follow up on last week's Unthought Known conversation, because I think that going back and forth with what it was at that show and what they were trying to get it to be live, I think is already here once you hit 2010. I think that it only needed 1 year of development before it became like a big time fan song. And you can tell, like, the crowd has figured it out at this point. Like, the band has better confidence with it, where there are pieces that are able to soar a lot better. The crowd reaction allows it to soar further than it was in the previous year. And, when it happens, I think it's kind of blissful, because sometimes songs just don't stick right away. And maybe sometimes it's the songs that they hope to stick, but it's always going to be the crowd that will tell you whether or not a song is going to be successful. And I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about last week when I mentioned that McCready wasn't really confident that Unthought Known would be a good live song until they started to play it and see where they were able to take it when they got more open space with it. And it feels like once they played it on SNL this year, like, that showed people, like, okay, this is how they feel about it. They played it every single night on this tour this year. So they were confident, and I think the crowd's response to it helped them develop a lot more confidence in going forward with the song. And now we know of it to be one of the ones from Backspacer that comes back every now and again, and it's still part of the set.
And it feels like the celebration that every show should have. You always have one of those songs where you can feel that you can invite the audience to celebrate. And I'm glad that they did with this song. It could have been so easy for them just to kind of gauge maybe the first couple of runs in '09, and then they were like, well, maybe this is not clicking, maybe we should put it aside and get back to it. But I think that's one of the most dangerous things that you can do when you're in a band, where you kind of like leave the song in the bench, and then you kind of forget that you have it. Like, it's just, I'm looking at you, got to give over the Dark Matter album. But I'm glad that they really pushed through, because you can hear a reaction regardless of the size of the reaction. There's always a response when Unthought Known is being played, which is pretty cool. Not one of my favorites live, but I respect the fact that you're always going to get a reaction from the audience.
on distant shores. Oh, we are a rival team of dreams of other men. Knowing no one's rival, dream of dreams of others. You will be no one's rival. Will be no one's rival. Distant time, a distant place. That's where we're living. A distant time, a distant space. So what you giving? What you giving?
Another perfect transition happens from Unthought into Daughter. Just flawless there. Another one where you can just tell the momentum is kept up and the energy is kept up, and they don't want to take a pause for whatever reason. They're onto something and they just keep going with it. And you know, Ed messes around with the crowd a little bit. They do a fun back and forth before WMA tag, and the lyrics are changed to white male Arizonian due to some extremely harsh immigration laws that were implemented in Arizona at this time. And there's this little cool little exit riff that Stone has coming out of it that I thought was really neat. But yeah, the transition I think is the big part, that the two songs transitioned into each other really well. So now we're kind of gonna almost, I guess, put the rest of the main set together here with about 5. But you know, before going into that, Ed says we played the song once so we can play it tonight and haven't played it in a while. It's about a guy who hides his dreams in the car before he goes to work and feels like he has to hide his real self. Like in the way of don't let anybody see your dreams because they might seem laughable. And these days it's tough to have a job at all, but if you can get one where you can be yourself, that is a good thing. So I'm packaging all these together because they go through them all. It feels like nonstop, one after the other after the other. And I also don't have massive points on just about any of these 5. So we got Sleight of Hand into Johnny Guitar, which we talked about last week. I feel like we don't need to really bring that one back up because it's
We
going to
should.
be similar conversation. You should. I'm not going
We
to.
should.
You do a bonus episode, my friend, if that is something that you would like to do, but I'll handle the conversation on this end. So after the song we're not going to talk about, Johnny Guitar, do the
We should.
evolution. Now you're pushing it. Now you're pushing it. Now you're challenging me.
Exactly. See, it's back and forth, buddy. Back and forth.
And it goes both ways. Do the evolution, the fixer, and why go? So, what are you hot on about this section? What can we talk about here that feels I'm setting you up for failure here, I suppose. But yeah, outside of Johnny Guitar, what do you got?
Well, I'm being censored again. No, I'm kidding. Um, no. I mean, jokes aside, for me, the highlights here in this section are sleight of hand feels that you're gonna get that, like, okay, Mike is gonna get loose. For some reason, it doesn't happen. Although the band sounds like freaking outstanding, like in that like ethereal kind of atmosphere that binaural was created just to be enjoyed. Love when it gets like the crazy sinister character that
Mm.
you get like the yelling right before the song kicks in.
No slight on the Sleight or the two Backspacer songs that are in this, but I do think that, yeah, yeah, little bit he does before Evolution really makes a little difference and makes it feel like, ooh, like we're on to something here. He's cooking something up, and he's got some potions that he's about to feed you all in the crowd, and it just leads to a fun version of that. And then Why Go? I just thought it had so much energy. Like, if you were to wrap up the set anyway and like find a song that like defined how the main set went, Why Go, I think, did just that. It was a really, really good way to close the main set out, and there's some really, really good moments that are in this. But now, I think we can pause for station identification and talk a little bit about, well, we could talk about Patreon, but I want to talk about next week's episode first, because I seem to feel like a lot of people out there don't listen to the end of the episode where we tell you what next week's episode is going to be. They just don't. And if they do, thank you. We appreciate that. But if they don't, then I'm going to tell you what we're doing right here, right now. Next week, we are going to be doing Rio de Janeiro for 2011. And that is going to be a watch along episode that is going to be a YouTube episode. If you wanted to listen to it on the regular podcast audio platforms, you certainly could. But I'm telling you now, that show is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. It's probably going to be recorded in 2 parts. We're going to have to work that out. But it's going to be long. And if you're going to watch it, I think you will get the most out of watching. It's basically listening to a full show or watching a full show. So you might as well have the visuals to go alongside of it. So we did that with, I think, the 97 show a few months ago that we did, the Oakland show. And now we're going to do it again because they're easier to edit. And I don't have a whole lot of time for next week. And so that is what we're going to do. So please, 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 please subscribe on YouTube. I am saying this until I am blue in the face. Subscribe on YouTube. That is that. That is all we need from you today, is to do that. And you will be able to see when that episode comes out next week. So 2011 Rio de Janeiro will obviously bring it up later in the episode as well. But I felt like it needed to go now, just in case there were still people listening to be like, oh, well, I'll turn it off later because I don't need to know anything else of what they got to say. Well, now you know. So along with that, head on over to Patreon if you want to donate to the show. I did like a live stream over there. I think it went pretty well. I think that's something that maybe I'll continue to do once every month or so. Maybe once a month I'll do that, and kind of a state of the union for this podcast, and, get my good friend to join me over here instead of him working hard at his day job. We got to pry him out of that sometimes, but I think we could do that for one night.
You know how we can do that too? If more people subscribe, maybe we can do that. See?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. If you don't want to hear from me, then all you got to do is subscribe, and then you'll hear from both of us. That's a phenomenal idea. So the way that you can subscribe is to go to patreon.com/live on 4 legs and join up on any tier. A $3 tier gets you all the content. A $5 tier will get you in a requested episode, and a $10 tier will get you everything that I just mentioned, as well as a profile on liveon4legs.com, which we are continuing to put out Concertpedia episodes from last year. Yeah, I know they're trickling out very, very slowly, but they're coming out. There's still one that I do not have ready, but the person that is listening knows that, and he will get that to me in no time, because we want them all done before the end of the month. So keep on checking the website, keep on checking Patreon, because you never know what's going to pop up, and we're working on more content for it. Trust me. We are working on it. That's all I really need to say about Patreon this week. Just, continue to help support us. It means the world, especially, if we do decide that Ohana is a place that we want to get to. I know that tickets are sold out, but you are never left out when it comes to a Pearl Jam show. So please, it all goes into that. It all goes into putting the podcast first and foremost, and being at the shows is obviously a big deal for us. All right. Now back to the encore, back to the rock. We're getting messages here. Play Alpine Valley. Does it say please on the back of that sign? We don't respond to orders. That was actually a big thing from the Hartford show. There was a sign. I don't remember what it was for because I didn't see the sign live, but there was a sign to play a song. It might have been Black, Red, Yellow, now that I'm thinking about it, but he basically says, he's like, we don't take orders here. We don't come to your house asking for eggs and bacon. And he kind of pauses. He's like, but if you're making pancakes, you're making pancakes with a little something in them, and or he mentions like brownies with a little something in them, then maybe we'll come. Maybe we'll come. So I think that was his reaction to that at the time. So he says there's one that says smile on it, and we'll do all your requests here, but you got to get me out of a jam.
This young man right here, he didn't call his mom on Mother's Day today. So, I mean, come on. I had things to do. I was playing Cleveland, for God's fucking sake. I had to get ready for the gig. I had to see Band of Horses. I couldn't miss that. So, how about on the count of three, we say together, Happy Mother's Day, Karen, and then at least I can get her that tape tomorrow, and I might be off the hook a little bit. Can we try that? 1, 2, 3.
I did not call my mom on Mother's Day this year either. I didn't, but I had a reason. Oh,
I did.
Well, good for you, sir. I am so happy for you and your mother. I did not call my mom on Mother's Day because I had to work, and Ben and my wife went to her parents' house, so I didn't have him for a FaceTime, and we weren't able to talk to her until I think it was Friday. So, yeah, I get it, Ed. Yeah.
Maybe now is a good opportunity just to tell your mom Happy Mother's Day.
I already did, and she doesn't listen to my podcast. She doesn't even recognize its existence, to be honest with you.
Well, never mind
My
that.
my
Move on.
my wife's great aunt listened to this podcast before my mom listened to this podcast. That's not a joke. That is not a joke. My mom or dad have never listened to a single episode. And don't care to. So I don't know.
No.
Mothers supporting sons, something like that. But anyway, he says, I was playing Cleveland, for God's sakes. I had to see Band of Horses. And he gives all the excuses in the book. So he says, on a count of three, everybody say Happy Mother's Day, Karen. So they all do it. And they're like, oh, Stone didn't talk to his mom either. So say Happy Mother's Day, Carolyn. And he's like, Matt's good. He's an idyllic son right here. So we'll play you all a request at the end, but this is our request that's dedicated to our moms. And that is a bass version of Just Breathe.
Like this time my skin's never gonna let me win on. As we sit alone, I know someday with my heart. Yeah, I don't wanna hurt. There's so much in this world to make me believe. Stay with me. You're all I see. Did I say did, and I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean, I wonder every day.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's actually here. We actually have the bass. This is like the last era for it. I don't think we see it much out of 2010. Do we? We're going to have to go back on that. I think by 2013, it's gone.
Yeah, I think you're right. In Oh man, I just don't know why they don't do it more often. Honestly, it's such a joy. It's a beautiful song. Don't get me wrong. It has so much meaning to so many people out there because there's a memory attached to it. But I missed talking about Just Breathe when Jeff is playing because it becomes a complete different thing. It's just not the emotional aspect. It's just like I don't know. I just love it when he's included.
Yeah, it has character. And I don't want to say the song drags without it, but if it's just Ed, then it just doesn't feel like the rest of the band is included. It's like, I don't hate when Ed goes out there and does something solo, but it does feel a little exclusionary. And I'd rather it not be like that. So Jeff doesn't allow it to meander at all. It just goes. And that's what I want when I'm looking for the song. The rest of Encore number 1 is very short. It's Given a Fly, into Leash, into Porch. The Encore lasts 21 minutes, which is nothing. And how many times have I said that I hate when Encore 1 is shorter than Encore 2?
A lot, but I was also gonna say the Given to Fly lasted like 11 seconds too.
It was quick. It was quick, and you just like didn't even notice it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we are fully from here on out. That is what that song is going to be, and you accept it for what it is. Because harping back on what it should be or what it used to be doesn't do you any good. So, if you like those versions, which I prefer, then like them for what they were back then and then find a way to like these ones differently or just find other songs to enjoy. I want to talk a little bit about Leash because Leash from this era is definitely not the same from way back in its prime era. And there's probably one good reason for that. It's because of a line change. How many times does he say in the song, "Get out of my fucking face, get out of my fucking face"? A lot. And in this era, when the song came back from the big play Leash You Pussies era where everybody wanted it and it didn't make 2003, so it made 2006. Well, you got it, but you got like the adult version of it where it's "Get out of my lucky face" instead of "Get out of my fucking face."
Drop the leash, we are young. Drop the leash, we are young. Get out of my lucky face. Drop the leash, drop the leash. Get out of my lucky face. Yeah, delight, delight. I was left on you. Oh, get out of my lucky
I never understood. I never understood why the change. Because it doesn't even make any sense. Like, get out of my lucky face. Like, what is a lucky face? If you want to say, "Get out of my goddamn face, get out of my freaking face," like, change it to that. But, like, lucky face doesn't make any sense when it comes to what this song is. And I guess I get that you don't want to curse 1,000 times in front of some kids, but honestly, that's what they kind of pay you for, you know? How many times has Ed said, "Hey, I see a 10-year-old in the crowd. I better not say fuck tonight." Oh, fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, 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 and makes a joke of it. Like
Yeah, that's true.
why? Why disguise it? You know, just play the whole damn thing, or don't play it at all. And maybe
You know
that's
what,
why he didn't
Randy?
want to do it for all those years.
You know what, Randy? Maybe the meaning of the song changed for them. It could be. Maybe it's a reflection of a different time.
It definitely has a little bit of something to do with that because the song really in 1991 and 1992 it defined who they were, but when they put it on the 1993 album, it kind of felt like it was just because they had the song and it wasn't because that defined them anymore. That was really a 1992 thing. And after that, like Leash was fine and it was still played in sets, but it felt like they even got a little too mature for it then.
That's a fair assessment. You're right when you say like you're gonna get paid for that kind of thing, where you're expecting that kind of reaction from a band that has been so vocal about how they feel. But yeah, maybe something changed. Maybe something is different, and maybe when they wrote that song, the sentiment was a little different than what it is now in the show that we're covering. Who knows? I'm with you. I prefer the classic version and the way that
I
it should
mean,
be
I don't
sung.
think anybody prefers Lucky Face unless you
Yeah,
have some
they
like nuns in the crowd or something like that.
yeah, get out of my lucky face. It doesn't even sound good.
Yeah, what is a lucky face? What is a lucky face? I could not tell you. Well, to end Encore 1, we're going to end with Porch, and it feels like a very flashy version. Solo's a lot of fun, a lot of trickery here. And once again, like, it's such a quick encore that, you've got great energy here, but I wish it was just balanced a little bit better. I wish that maybe you had a couple more songs and then a little less songs for Encore 2. Because in Encore 2, really, if Encore 2 is just three or four songs, then you've got it made. Like,
Yeah.
make Encore 1 feel like a substantial thing. And it was just, here's 20 minutes and then we're going to go backstage again. Like, that feels useless to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would like to make a pit stop in Porch, though. Again, Matt Cameron is absolutely outstanding in the song. Even though that it has a lot of trickery, I think the band found like a really cool pocket in a groove here, like where everybody's interacting with the other one, which is my favorite kind of Porch because sometimes when it's mic centered, you really lose focus in like the partnership that Matt, Jeff, and Stone are creating in the back. For me, that is the core element of the song whenever you have one of those versions where it really makes you think like, okay, this is one of the ones that we're gonna be talking probably for a while. I don't think this one gets there, but it's pretty good. And it's just good because of the sum of all the elements, it's not because the solo is just trickery.
All right, now we're at that encore 2 where there's a lot more songs. But honestly, you throw reprise in there, and that's like not truly a song. So it's not a lot more. It's 6 to the 4 or 7 if you want to count that as a full song. But it says here, "Cheers, Cleveland. I'm not sure what we've done in our lives to deserve this kind of thing, but we appreciate you coming out and participating like you have on a Sunday night. Big energy in the building. I hope you do well on Tuesday." That was a playoff game for the Cavs. I did not check what series that was. And then he mentions, "Don't let that Jay-Z guy steal your superstar. We're from Seattle. We lost our whole fucking team. Oklahoma stole our thunder." This was the year, like a month later, it was the decision. And I was working at ESPN during the decision. And boy, was it a fucking shit show. Yeah, one of my least, I think one of the world's least favorite sports moments of all time. Just horribly dealt with because it just, like, not even Shohei Otani, like, had a moment like that. They just announced it. Like, don't make yourself bigger than the game. I just hated it. I hated everything about
Mhm.
it. And then the four of them on that team, or the three of them on that team, was just obnoxious. Obnoxious. But anyway, keep that in mind. Seattle getting their Thunder taken away from them, because the Thunder are a really good team and they're in the finals right now. And it's a pretty good chance that they make the NBA championship. And if they do, it will probably be during the time that we do 2013. And that's going to be the 2013 show, because they talk a lot about Oklahoma City stealing their team. And it's a big deal. So I think we'll go back to that one if that's the case. So Reprise, Wasted, and Black. Very fun Life Wasted, very bassy Jeff heavy, but good fun, starting off a fun encore for sure. And then I think we can dig back into the evolution of Black here. I think really next week we'll have a lot of time to talk about it, because we're going to be sitting through a 9-minute version when dealing with a South America crowd, so we can really feel what that evolution is like. But it's continuing to build off of previous years, making the song more of an emotionally charged moment than it had been. And when you get to that show, as I mentioned before, in Berlin, that's as emotionally charged as you can get there. That is probably one of the best that you'll hear. The ending just becomes magical. The band, fans in unison are celebrating this moment, while, you just kind of transferred so many in your audience back to a moment where they needed the song to survive. And it really felt like that's what everybody was grasping onto at that point.
There's no wrong with Black anymore. It's like Randy was explaining, it becomes such an interaction in between the audience and the band. Even though that you may have versions that they're a little bit better than other ones, and it doesn't matter. The one thing in common that every single version of Black will have is that emotional connection at the end. It doesn't matter the quality of the solo or the version or anything like that. When Black became something else, that was the common denominator that you found till 2026, the year that we are right now. And hopefully we continue to build those moments and to make that connection bigger and bigger and bigger, because that song is going to become even more important, like later on, maybe when the band is not even longer active. So yeah, it's a very cool thing that you just mentioned that, because I think they just cannot ignore it.
Nope, it's impossible to, and it really ties the whole show together whenever it shows up. I saw a little bit of that clip of Stone talking about his favorite Pearl Jam songs and said, look, Black should be on the set list every night. If it was me doing the set list, Black would be there every single night. That's how good of a song that is. So if Stone wants it every night, then hey, that's the value that it has. And I think the band probably can't deal with all that emotion every single night, and that's probably why it's every other, but still, you know what you're getting out of it. He says here they're going to take a request from earlier, but they're going to take it all the way in the back in the shittier seats, and then he requests that person that had that sign to move a little bit closer, but they're going to play one before they get to that request. So the section here is The Real Me and Smile, and The Real Me was firing. Ooh, this was a good version. I was just feeling this the whole time. The bass was heavy on it. Ed was truly in perfect vocal for channeling his Roger Daughtry on this. I thought it was fantastic. Just performance-wise, they're so tight. It was an unbelievable version.
Cause
tracks between the paving stones, like rivers to flow in vain. Strange people who know me.
I've said it live a couple of times before, but I'm a sucker for the real me. It's one of the greatest Who songs ever. And when one of your favorite bands just plays it and they play it right like this one, it really like triggers something. Outstanding version. I mean, everything was absolutely perfect about that. Jeff's driving the song in every single way possible. And it's a really cool thing that they decided to place it after Black, because after that emotional, strong connection that you have with the audience, you may feel a little drained out. And this was the perfect pick-me-up before you start to say goodbye for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. You want Encore 2 songs to be fun. You want them to get you excited, and you want to feel like they have more in the tank, and that gave you so much more in the tank than you would have expected. Yeah, The Real Me is basically in its prime for them in this era. They don't play it a whole lot outside of 2010, 2011 kind of deal. So this is where you really got to cherish those moments, for sure. Smile was the request, and I think he gives a shout out to Tiffany being the one that requested it, and he says, "Oh, Tiffany may or may not have had a hit in the '80s." Ha 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 ha! Funny guy you are. And I just love when Smile is played in the spot because it's the goodbye tune. You know, miss you already, miss you always. Gives it one big connection moment before your true goodbye. And again, like, you want to celebrate something in the show. You want your crowd to feel like they were a part of something. And when you do a song like Smile and you're kind of speaking to them, like the lyrics feel like you have something to say instead of just playing a song because it sounds good, I think they take attention to that. I think they have a lot of respect for that. So I loved it here, and I will always want to have Smile being kind of an end of set sort of song to make you feel like you went through all of what you did together. And then a live and indifference ending your show was pretty fantastic. Just another raucous version of Alive, another sing-along with Indifference. You can't get much better than this.
Yeah, the real goodbye is Smile, right? But then you just go to the celebration, like you have Alive and Indifference to close to. And I really like when those combinations show up in a set, because it makes you, it kind of like it gives you a little bit more room to digest that emotional moment that you have with the band when you're like, okay, this is it. We don't know when we're going to see them again, or if we're touring along with them, or like what is the next day. But that transition towards Alive and Indifference really allows you to just to take it all in, especially because it's such a joyful version. Like the band sounds pretty lively. You can tell that they're really having a good time. And they show like every single song, every single combination of songs that they decided to use for the set clearly indicated that they were having a blast that night. And I don't know about you, Randy, but like I had a really good time going through the show and listening to it, because this is a show that I've never listened to, and personally this is one of my favorite things about the series, because I'm exploring a lot of stuff that I was not familiar with. So it's a learning curve for me too.
Oh yeah, I think that what I said before holds true. 2010 is a really underrated year and has a lot of just fun shows, fun energy, happy band. This is the first time in a very long time that we now have a president that they approve of in office. You know, even at the latter stages of Clinton, they weren't really into Clinton anymore because of the whole, Monica Lewinsky thing and everything like that. They made fun of him a whole lot, and then you get to the Bush era, they hated Bush for 2 terms, and now they get to a guy that they respect. I really do, like, anybody that's thinking right now, oh, why does that have to influence your mood? Because it does. Because you care about the things that go on in your country and go on in the world, and you take that into your creative platform, and you build off of that, and you use that because that is what currently fills your, the brain mass in your head. And if you're happy with things and you're not focused on those things like you were in this era, then that stuff shows. You come out there and it shows how happy you are, and it just reflects on the crowd. And it felt like the crowd was perfect for all of this too. So, yeah, one day we'll get back to all that. TBD, but I thought this show did a really good job of like defining how good the sound and structure of 2010 shows were, because just solid. I think 2009 they were trying to find it a little bit, but 2010 they own it. So now let's get to the point. We can pick 3 moments from this. So what do you got? I feel like it's going to be similar today. I'm not sure, but I feel like it's going to end up going that way.
Yeah, I think we might be singing the same tune right now. My number three is going to be Go. Insane addition in the spot that they decided to include that. My number two is going to be The Real Me. And my number one, I already told you, is going to be. Well, I didn't tell you that it was going to be that number one, but I told you that it
But
was
I
going
know
to be
what it
my top
is.
three. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Immortality.
Yeah. Yeah, I got 2 of those for sure. My number 3 is gonna be In Hiding, and I'm just gonna follow you right up here. I'm gonna say my number 2 is gonna be The Real Me, and my number 1 is gonna be Immortality. So, there you have that. There you have that. And I always say it's a sign of a good show when you have 3 different moments, but it's also a sign of a really good show when you can share moments and, the cream rises to the top kinda deal. So, yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
that's both are very, very good to have. All right, now let's get to a rating on this. What do you think? I think I'm gonna give this a little bit of a high mark, I'm thinking.
Yeah, me too. I love in the way that the sections of the show that they were like going so smooth and again, it's one of those shows so you can feel that the band is they were having so much fun. It feels like a lively band. Don't mean to dwell in '09 or stuff like that, but it's so refreshing for me just to listen to the differences in between, like just 1 year apart. This is the kind of band that I want to hear live. Like this is like where you can really, really taste every single flavor of what Pearl Jam can do live. So I'm very happy that we are back in later eras where I can enjoy a little bit more, and I'm not being censored. So yeah, for me,
Challenged.
this is sure, same thing. For me, this is gonna be a 9, like a solid 9. I had a blast listening to the show. It was a really good show for me.
Yeah, same. Sometimes these kind of shows just come out of the speakers and it has you feeling good and positive endorphins going through your brain. And you're just like, yeah, these songs, when they have them right, they really do knock them out of the park. And there wasn't a moment in the show where I'm kind of like meh on that, outside of maybe using Lucky Face was the one downer moment, I suppose. But like all the performances were just at the top of their game. I thought the transitions were awesome. The stories, I mean, there weren't a lot of stories, but like he interacted with the crowd really, really well that I liked. And yeah, we just had a really, really good time listening to it. I am right where you are at giving this a 9. I think it's very solid and absolutely deserves that honor of good 9 shows that are out there. So that is all set and done. 2010 in the books. And like mentioned before, 2011 is going to be Rio. That's a really big show. That show is full on YouTube, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a watch along episode. It's going to be the whole show. We're going to pick it apart and watch it and enjoy the crowd. And I've watched this before. It is a fun show. You can tell how vibrant this crowd is. So we should have a good time coming up with conversations. And you can check that all out on YouTube next week. But subscribe on YouTube now so you see everything else involved with what we're doing over there. All right. As mentioned, I mean, like subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to our social media pages. Instagram, head on over. The Facebook Podcast Community Group, head on over. Send us an email at liveon4legspodcast@gmail.com. Ask us some questions. Like, get to know what's inside our kitchen here to figure out what we're doing next. What are some of the things that we got for the future? We're happy to share some insider information for you guys as much as we can. But the best thing that you can do right now is to subscribe to all the places that I just mentioned, and also make sure you comment, make sure you rate, and let people know about it. Just pass the word along and say to people, hey, you are a Pearl Jam fan and you have gone to Pearl Jam shows. You might like this podcast because that's what they do. They cover your favorite Pearl Jam shows. So, with that being said, this has been a fun one today. So now we'll say goodbye. This may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, miss you already, miss you always. I think we'll end this show with Javi getting you prepared for takeoff here. What do you say?
Do I need, what do I need to say?
You don't have to say anything. It is your stunt double that will do the talking.
Oh, sure. Emergency exits are located in the right side of the wings, whatever they say when you take off. Anyways, congratulations, Timmy. Congratulations on your graduation again, my dear friend. And see you guys next week, I guess.
For next week, we will see you on the pod.
Or he might be behind you. If there is a change in cabin pressure for oxygen mask, will drop from overhead. Frequent blow max toward you to start the flow of oxygen. Remove any face covering and place the oxygen mask over your nose and mouth. Pull the elastic band around your head and tighten using the straps on both sides. Oxygen will be flowing even at the back of the setting plate. Put your mask on first before helping others. We will let you know when it's no longer needed. If you have any questions about this plane's safety features, don't hesitate to ask. We'll be coming down the aisle for one last check. Please make sure your seatbelt is fastened, seatback is upright, your tables are stowed, and all your carrying items are put away.